Ohio. Truskavets, the city in Truskavets district of the Lviv region of Ukraine. Administrative center of the Truskavets city community. The balneological resort, in the past the resort of all Union value. It is located in the foothills of the Ukrainian Carpathians, at the height of 400 m, to the south in 84 km from Lviv, in 9 km from Dragobika. The terminal station of a branch line from the station Dragobik plies the train from Kiev, Dnieper, electric trains and buses from Lviv. Since the 19th century it is known for the curative sources and the rehabilitation centers. About 20 sanatoria on 500, 1,000 places, polyclinics, a balneary, a set of small private boarding houses. The city is surrounded by the ring highway with a radius about 1 kilometer 7.4 km long. 15 minutes on foot from the center. From the dammed streams 3 artificial reservoirs behind city boundaries are created. On slopes of mountains the mixed woods. An oak, a beech, a fir tree. Smerica. And other species of trees. The population of the city makes about 29,000 people. The number of vacationers in the resort monthly averages 13,000 people. It was actively used for arrest of children Chernobyl veterans. Early history. The first written mention of Truskavets belongs to 1469. Archaeological finds, in particular, Roman fighting, dated the 4th century of our era, demonstrate that the territory of the modern city could be the arena of fighting is ready. Also the Carpathian tribes led by Carps, on the one hand, and legions of the Roman Empire, with another. The origin of the name of the city is up to the end precisely unknown. According to the main historical version, the name Truskavets comes from Trushko or Trusko's Slavic name over time altered to Truskavets. Other scientists consider that the name was influenced by Lithuanian. In Lithuanian Druska is salt and Prikarpaty, including next Dragobik, the known center of salt production. Names of many settlements of 50 Lvivshina are connected with this trade, for example. Old Salt, Yasenica Solnaya, Solitz, Solansko. In favor of this option, a close interstate relationship of the Galицko-Volhynsky Principality and Grand Duchy of Lithuania in the 12th, 15th centuries testify. Besides, there is popular, but a little plausible version according to which the name Truskavets represents a modified form of the Polish word truskawka, designating a wild strawberry garden. Nevertheless, this berry appeared in Europe only after 1714, and the name of the city meets in the 15th century. At the beginning of the existence, Truskavets, most likely, was the property of the Galицko-Volhynsk princes, and after gaining the Principality Poland, the Truskavets lands got to the property of the Polish kings whose land tenure, so-called Korolevshchina, was leased to feudal lords. It is known that brothers Ivan and Stanislav Koricki were Shlokakomi holders of the Truskavets manor in 1462. About 1518 the city was a part of the Dragobycz Starostvo. In 1772, after the first section of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, Truskavets became the property of the Austrian Emperor. In Truskavets there was the oldest pump room, which was founded in the 19th century.
In 1827 two local taverns attached the small room for the first 8 hydrosulfuric bathtubs, on the place of the source of sulfide mineral water formed as a result of drilling by oil search, and it began to be considered as date of official establishment of the balneological resort over time.
Though medicinal properties of the Truskavets waters were known long ago, for the first time they were described by the royal doctor Wojciech Otko in 1578. Raphael Zanchinski. G. Ranchinski. The author of the textbook, Historia is Natural, which was published in 1721, specified that they in Truskavets, as well as in other villages of Drogobichny, extracted oil, and water which accompanies her, peasants drank for treatment of many diseases. The first serious works were carried out here by the German scientists N. Feichtel and B. Hake. Stanislav Stashitz, in small work which came out in 1805, wrote that, except salt, extract here ozocrit and oil from which by distillation receive the kerosene used for lighting of streets.
Subsequently some more sources which waters were used for drinking treatment were open. In 1833, a salty and bitter source Maria. In 1835, hydrocarbonanosulfate calcium magnesium, Naftusia. In 1842, chloridnosulfate Sophia. In 1858, sources of sulfide waters of Emmanuel and Anna. The chemical analysis of the Naftusia mineral water was for the first time carried out by the druggist from Zolkva K.
Stellaram in 1832, and the Lviv scientist, the druggist and the chemist Theodor Torozevich in 1836. Then there was the first scientific article about influence of the Truskavets mineral waters on a human body. Also Torfa clinics were constructed balneo. From 1860 years the resort belonging to the state was leased to joint stock company, and then took over individuals.
At the same time the value of Truskavets increases in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. In the 1868 years the number of visitors of the resort passed for 1,000 a year.
In 1892 the room for inhalations of a system of Vashmouth was built here. Truskavets rose to the level of health resorts of the European value. Hotels, country houses, boarding houses were under construction. In 1900 in the resort the monument to Adam Mickiewicz was open. At the beginning of the 20th century infrastructure developed, the new balneary and the bypass road were constructed. In 1911 Truskavets passes to the Union
Commercial Joint Stock Company,
which was headed by Raymond Yaresh. The new owner carried out electric lighting for streets and the territory of the park. In 1909 the railroad with the small station was constructed, and in 1912 the building of the new station was built. Truskavets was directly connected by railway communication with Lviv, Vienna, Prague, Warsaw, Krakow, Poznan, Berlin.
In 1913 for great success in development of the resort of Truskavets it was awarded with the Big Gold Medal.
Development of the resort in interwar Poland. 1918-1939 is demonstrated by figures. A balneolechebnica, pump rooms and pavilions of mineral sources, private hotels and boarding houses were built. The resort functioned only during a summer season. Treatment was performed by private medical practitioners, was rather expensive also in the prevailing majority of cases inaccessibly to a general population. If in 1923 there were 60-80 vacationers here, then in 1927 the number of guests sharply grew to 12633 people. In 1931 the resort was visited by 14659 people, and the season of 1933 was designated by number, large for the time in 17000 vacationers. On August 17, 1929 the Museum of Natural Sciences is consecrated and open. On September 24, 1939 Truskavets is occupied by the Soviet troops. On November 1, 1939 the western lands of Ukraine officially were a part of USSR. By this time there were 147 private country houses and boarding houses. On the base 8 sanatoria on 1500 places in which treatment took place all the year round were open. Considerable destructions and huge damage to the resort were brought by World War II. However, in 1945 several sanatoria are created here. In the first post-war years, 1945-1946, a lot of work on restoration of resort economy was carried out. In the next years intensive resort construction was carried out. Since 1947 along with balneological treatment began to apply heat treatment in the form of a pleat of the ozocrit received from the Borislavsky field. In 1947 Truskavets became the city of regional submission, since 1952 the city of regional submission. Over time Truskavets received the status of an all-union health resort, having in a short space of time turned into one of the largest resorts of allied value which was annually visited by tens of thousands of people. Since 1947 in the resort the new method of thermal treatment is used by Borislavsky ozocrit. In 1949 the Hydroorgeim operational station is created, complex scientific research of medical factors began. The new balneary with an ozokaratobolnitsa is constructed, the pump room which capacity was already 30,000 people a day by then is modernized. In 1977 the Dnipro boarding house. Architect O. Radomsky in 50. Kurlishin was constructed here. In the city from all spa facilities there are 2 pump rooms of mineral water, 2 balneozadnitsa. The central balneary and ozokaratolicebitsa. Whoa. On 2,000 visits. In Galitoria a Council 2 resort polyclinics, the all-resort diagnostic center on the basis of the central resort polyclinic. 14 sanatoria. About 10,000 places. Including a trade union function. On the first half of the 1988 years. 5,000 places. Nowadays -20 sanatoria, 21 boarding houses and hotels. In total over 14,000 places. It is organized outpatient treatment. The coming patients accommodate in boarding house, hotels and at locals. For their service there is also paid polyclinic. Besides the office, branch of clinic of the Odessa Scientific Research Institute of Balneology functions. Since January 1, 2000 the Special Economic Zone says of tourist and recreational type, Kurotopolis Truskavets, which is created for 20 years in administrative territorial borders of the city of Truskavets functions. Says Kurotopolis Truskavets can consider the highly specialized free economic zone which priority purpose or assistance to development of sanatorium economy, medicine and healthcare. Climate of neighborhood of the resort moderately continental. The warm and moderate and damp microclimate is characteristic of Truskavets. There is a short, soft and snow winter. So in this connection snow cover is unstable or often noted. The spring comes in the first half of March, but frosty days can be celebrated almost to the middle of April. The summer is warm, with alternation of sunny and cloudy days. The fall is long, dry and warm. Average temperature of January -6.0 C, July +18.5, 20.0 C.
The total amount of precipitation in a year in Truskavets together with vicinities makes 763,827, not much more exceeding these indicators in the known resorts of Russia and the Crimea.
Piatigorsk -584, Kislovodsk -672, Yalta -577. The greatest number of rainfall in Truskavets drops out at the end of spring and the beginning of summer, least of all during the winter period. Rather high humidity of air during the winter period is characteristic of Truskavets -78-79%, in the summer about 80%.
The lowered atmospheric pressure, his indicators within a year fluctuate within about 725-742 MD.
The high humidity of air is especially noticeable in the morning and in the evening. In the afternoon it is almost equal optimum, thanks to it despite rather high temperature of air. At the beginning of day and in the evening here is rather cool. The most damp months in a year are in August and October, and the driest April and May. The number of days with the fog usually doesn't exceed 20-25 days in a year. Somewhere as much and with thunderstorms. Cloudy days in a year on average 100, solar and clear about 98. The maximum overcast in Truskavets is observed in November, is less cloudy in July and September. Truskavets, an environmentally friendly zone. In vicinities mineral waters with 14 sources are located terrestrial, natural self-streaming, and underground, brought to a surface. Yuzia, Maria, Sofia, Bronislava and others. The field of mountain wax, Ozokrit, is in 4 kilometers from the resort in the city of Borislav. There is the Truskavets Barbara salt which is extracted from a highly mineralized brine hydrochloric solution. The major natural medical factor, the mineral waters varies on the chemical composition and a mineralization. In Truskavets there are over 25 mineral sources.
The Naftusia mineral water hydrocarbonanosulfate calcium magnesium with a mineralization of 0.7 G/L is most known.
In the resort treatment of patients with diseases is performed. Inflammatory processes of a liver and biliary tract in a remission stage. Telelithiosis without complications and also in the postoperative period. Violations of motility of biliary tract. Residual phenomena of a disease of Botkin. Chronic inflammatory processes of kidneys and urinary tract without increase in arterial blood pressure.
Urolithic disease state after expeditious and tool removal of stones in
1.5-2 months. Sexual violations at men. Violations of exchange processes. Diabetes, gout and others. Stomach diseases. Having accompanying diseases of a cardiovascular system. Besides Naftusi, there are also other mineral water sources. No. 1. No. 2. No. 12. Mineral water. No. 3. Branislav, which are used in the form of bathtubs, irrigations, washings of a large intestine, a hydromassage of gums, inhalations. It is organized outpatient treatment. The coming patients accommodate in boarding house, hotels and at locals. For their service there is also paid polyclinic. Besides the office, branch of clinic of the Odessa Scientific Research Institute of Balneology functions. Present Truskavets accepts about 500,000 health resort visitors a year. The resort in Mountain Skidnitsa. The resort of Morshin in 30 came from Truskavets specializes in chronic diseases of a stomach, intestines, pancreas. By results of an all-Ukrainian population census of 2001 22.5 thousand people. 91.5% in relation to a census of 1989. From them Russian -1.1 thousand people. 4.9% of all population. Belarusians -0.1 thousand. 0.4%. And Poles -0.1 thousand people. 0.4%. Lived in the city. Sites. Memorial to the victims of Chernobyl. At the left, Greco-Catholic Church of Saint Nikolai. Walks across Truskavets and its picturesque vicinities. In 3 came to the north from Truskavets the forest area. Natural boundary of Pomyaki, where there is a lake formed on the place of the former developments of Ozokrit, the place of bathings is located. Near the lake, mineral sources. In 1. 5 came to the northwest from the resort, in the natural boundary Lipki, there are also mineral sources which water is used for bathtubs. In Truskavets the reservoir, the beach, the boat station, is created. Reflection in culture. In 1977 a feature film, Someone Will Go to Truskavets, was shot.
Truskavets is mentioned in the song by Gorod Krachevsky, Taxi Driver, in the song by Oleg Mityav, Eternal History, and in the Ukrainian TV series of Talk.
The 46th series. In Truskavets the sanatorium of the National Writers' Union of Ukraine, in which the famous Ukrainian writers, in particular, Ivan Drach and Oles Gonchar had a rest, is located. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.